Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. We were sitting across from the clerk at the county office, filling out forms for our marriage license. It was a slow Thursday afternoon, and the place was almost empty. Rebecca tapped her pen against the clipboard, humming something under her breath. She always did that when she was bored. The clerk, an older woman named Carol with tired eyes and a neat bun, glanced between us. "And will you be taking your husband's name, miss?" she asked. Rebecca didn't hesitate. "No, I'm keeping Miller." I looked up. Carol blinked. "Until after the wedding, or?" Rebecca laughed. "No, permanently. I'll stay Rebecca Miller." My pen froze mid-signature. "Wait," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Miller? That's not your maiden name." "I know," she said, not looking at me. "It's my ex's name." There was a pause. Even Carol didn't know what to say. "You want to keep your ex-boyfriend's last name after we get married?" I asked. She looked at me like I was making a scene. "It's not that deep, Darren. It's just a name. Miller sounds cleaner, less, I don't know, clunky than Callahan. My full name is Darren Callahan, born and raised in Boston, Irish-American. My grandfather was a dock worker. My dad's a retired fireman. The name means something to me. But I didn't say all that. Instead, I asked, "Cleaner?" Rebecca sighed. "Come on. Callahan just sounds rough. Miller's simpler. It's professional. It's neutral." "Neutral," I repeated. "You think Callahan sounds unprofessional?" "I didn't say that," she said, flipping the page like we were talking about dinner plans. "But people don't stumble over Miller." Carol shifted in her seat. I nodded, just signed the form and handed it over. Rebecca smiled like everything was fine. "Let's grab lunch after this, yeah? I want to show you the calligraphy samples I found for the invites." I said, "Sure." But in my head, something shifted. She could have taken her own name. She could have taken mine. But she chose his. And not for family or feminism, for aesthetic. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about a name. It was about what she valued and who she didn't. That night, Rebecca curled up next to me on the couch, scrolling through Pinterest boards for table arrangements. She leaned her head on my shoulder like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just told me my last name wasn't good enough for her. I didn't bring it up. I didn't ask her to reconsider. I just sat there, quiet, and let her talk about peonies and seating charts. I think she thought I'd gotten over it. That's what Rebecca always did. Drop the match, walk away, and wait for the smoke to clear. 2 days later, she told me she was heading to Charleston with her bridesmaids for a wellness weekend. Yoga, facials, maybe a beach day. I told her to have fun. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Try not to miss me too much." As soon as she left, I opened the drawer in my desk where I kept the wedding files, receipts, contracts, deposit schedules. I read through every line, every clause. Some vendors had non-refundable fees. Others, if you canceled far enough in advance, would return almost everything. I made a list. Then I picked up her wedding dress receipt. We'd bought it from a boutique. Cost me $7,500. Custom order, but the final fitting wasn't scheduled yet. No alterations. According to their policy, a full refund is available within 90 days. We were on day 81. I folded the paper, grabbed the garment bag from the hall closet, and drove straight there. A woman named Sasha helped me at the counter. "I need to return a dress," I said. "It hasn't been altered." She raised an eyebrow. It took about 20 minutes, but the return was approved. Full amount back to my card. By the time I got home, I'd returned the dress, canceled the tux fitting, and emailed the invitation designer. I wasn't being impulsive. I was being exact. I didn't yell. I didn't text angry paragraphs. I just made a plan. Because when someone shows you what you're worth to them, you don't ask them to look again. You walk. Saturday morning, while Rebecca was sipping pressed juice with her bridesmaids, I was on the phone with the event coordinator for our venue, a vineyard an hour outside the city, booked 11 months in advance. The contract was in my name. The venue coordinator tried to sound sympathetic, explaining that cancellations were always difficult and deposits were typically non-refundable. But I had already read the contract. Section 6.2 spelled it out clearly. Full refund minus the deposit if canceled more than 6 months before the event. We were at 7. After a brief pause, she confirmed I was right and said she'd process the cancellation that day. $4,200 refunded. Next, I called the travel agent who had booked our honeymoon. 10 days in Italy, all paid in full on my card. Flights, hotels, excursions, the works. I asked to rebook the entire trip for a single traveler. Same dates, but a new destination. I chose Iceland. I'd always wanted to see the Northern Lights. Over the next few hours, I canceled catering, table rentals, and the DJ. Lost some deposits, but recovered most. About $18,000 came back in total. Every contract had been in my name. Every payment from my accounts. I boxed up the favors she'd ordered. Then I cleared the guest room, folded her clothes, stacked her planners and wedding magazines on the bed. The last thing I did was go back to her closet. Where the $7,500 gown used to hang, I placed a plain envelope. Inside, a receipt marked refunded and a short note. If you prefer Miller over Callahan, maybe Miller can buy your dress. Petty? Maybe. But she made the name a battlefield. I just showed her where the lines were. That night, I made dinner, poured a drink, and opened my Iceland itinerary. Flights booked, hotels confirmed, passport ready. She came home Sunday evening, smiling, sun-kissed. "I missed you," she said, dropping her bag. I smiled back. "You're going to miss a lot more." Rebecca stood in the doorway of the bedroom, staring at the empty closet. She blinked once, then stepped closer. When she saw the envelope, she froze. I was leaning against the hallway wall when she turned around, holding the note like it might catch fire. "You returned my dress?" Her voice cracked. I kept my tone flat. "I paid for it." She scoffed. "Are you serious right now? Over a name?" "No," I said. "Not just a name. You chose to keep his name. You made a choice. This is mine. You're blowing this out of proportion. It's just branding. It's not like I still love him." "I didn't say you did, but let's not pretend this is about feminism or identity. You said Callahan was rough and Miller was clean, like I'm a mess you needed to fix. It's not that. You picked his name because it sounded better for your resume," I said. "But you didn't think for a second how that would sound to me. You're not keeping your birth name, you're keeping your ex's. And I'm supposed to stand next to you at the altar and smile?" She crossed her arms. "It's 2025. No one changes names anymore." "Then you should have kept your maiden name." "I liked Miller." I nodded. "Then maybe Miller should have bought your venue, your honeymoon, your cake." Her face twisted. "You're punishing me because I didn't want to be Mrs. Callahan." "No," I said. "I'm choosing not to marry someone who thinks my name is beneath her." She stepped forward, voice rising. "What about everything we built? Everything we planned?" I looked her dead in the eye. "I canceled everything. The caterer, the DJ, the honeymoon. I got most of it refunded." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "I'll leave for Iceland in a few days," I added. "Solo? You can't just walk away." I shrugged. "I already did." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. For the first time, Rebecca had no comeback. And I realized I didn't need one. By Tuesday morning, word had spread. I didn't say anything publicly. I didn't need to. But someone did. Probably Kayla, one of Rebecca's bridesmaids. "Bride keeps ex's name because fiancé's is too ethnic?" It blew up. The screenshots showed Rebecca writing things like, "Ugh, Callahan sounds like a boxing coach. Miller just works better with my brand. Ethnic names are just not great for email signatures, you know?" Her words, not mine. A few of her followers, mostly from her wellness influencer account, started asking questions. One comment under her latest post, "Wait, aren't you engaged to a guy named Callahan? Why are you still using your ex's name?" She turned off comments by noon, deleted the post by 3. I got a message from my friend Jake that night. He sent me a screen recording of a TikTok, some girl breaking down the situation and reading Rebecca's texts out loud with dramatic music in the background. It already had 600,000 views. Her influencer profile took a hit. A couple of brand partners quietly dropped her. A podcast she was supposed to guest on was canceled. But what hit hardest wasn't online. It was real life. Her father, Michael Whitaker, called me. "Darren," he said, voice low, "mind if I ask what the hell happened?" I explained it to him. Nothing fancy, just the facts. She told me she didn't want to take my name, said Miller sounded more professional, and Callahan was too ethnic. Like I wouldn't care. There was a long pause. Then he exhaled. "I'm sorry. That's disappointing. It's not your fault, I said. No, he replied, but it's still my responsibility. I raised her. I taught her to value names, roots, and legacy. Somewhere along the line, that got lost. He didn't say it out of pity. He said it like a man who knew exactly what it meant to protect your name. Wednesday morning, she was waiting in the kitchen when I came downstairs. Hair undone, no makeup, hoodie over pajama pants. Her eyes were puffy, like she hadn't slept. "Can we talk?" she asked. I grabbed a glass from the cabinet, filled it with water, and waited. "I've been thinking," she said. "You're right. About the name, about everything. I'll take Callahan." I nodded. "Why now?" She hesitated. "Because I don't want to lose you over something like this." "No," I said. "Try again. Are you doing this because you want to take my name, or because you want to save face?" Silence. She looked down, then muttered, "Both, I guess." That was all I needed to hear. I leaned on the counter. "If none of this went public, would you have changed your mind?" She didn't answer. "You weren't honest with me, Rebecca. You were honest with your friends, with your group chats, with your brand. You picked Miller because you liked how it looked on a business card, but you didn't care how it felt coming out of my mother's mouth at Christmas." Her jaw tightened. "This is so unfair. You're throwing away our entire relationship over a name." I raised an eyebrow. "You're still calling it just a name?" "You're punishing me for being honest," she snapped. "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm just believing you." She moved toward me, tried to touch my hand. I stepped back. "Darren, please don't go. Don't throw this away." "I already did. You just didn't notice." She stood there, staring at the floor, lips pressed into a thin line. "Unbelievable," she muttered. "I built a whole life with you." "No," I said. "You built a wedding. I was the life." Later that day, I heard her on the phone, crying to someone, maybe her sister or her mom, saying I overreacted, that I was dramatic. But I wasn't. She made the choice. I just made it final. I boarded my flight the next week. Reykjavik was cold when I landed, but the air was clean in a way I hadn't felt in years. I didn't check my phone until day 5. 17 voicemails, over 100 unread texts. "We can fix this. I'll change my name. I promise. My parents are so upset. Please talk to me." Then one from her sister. "Darren, I don't blame you. None of us do." And one from her ex. He said he told her to drop his name a year ago. That said enough. Back home, everything had shifted. Rebecca's social media presence? Gone. Deleted or locked down. Her influencer collabs dried up. Apparently, that TikTok video passed 3 million views. Some DEI consultants even did a breakdown of her ethnic names comment. It didn't go over well. Rebecca's bridesmaids were split. 2 ghosted her. One posted a vague quote about hidden bias in friendships. She tried blaming me publicly, but screenshots have a way of sticking. Funny enough, I'd met someone. On the flight home, actually. Her name was Kiera. She was headed to Boston for work. We started talking about books, places we've traveled. Somehow, my story came out. She didn't blink. We've seen each other a few times since. Nothing serious. Just good conversation, easy silences, and no second guessing. My apartment looks different now, lighter. I didn't win anything. I didn't destroy her. I just walked away when someone made it clear that who they thought I was didn't measure up to what they wanted. And now? I still go by Darren Callahan. I'm proud of that name. I believe it means something. Love that asks you to be less isn't love worth keeping. Rebecca? Still single and explaining how a branding decision cost her everything. And me? Still Callahan, standing firmly. Thank you for watching.